Hope you're all doing well on this rather fine Thursday. It's a sunny and warm Thursday. Been a long time since you said it's warm. My word, it's been a little while, but yeah, loving this sunshine and blue skies. It does make a big difference, doesn't it? Yeah, it's all good. And I've got to first of all say apologies because this video is a day late. Really, I should have done this yesterday, but there's been a few more developments, so it's a little bit more up to date with where things are. But in terms of transfer news from XWHU employee, before getting to the video, though, I need to ask a favour. Firstly, would like to get some suggestions on topics for videos. The reason I'm asking that is one, because we've got a bit of a period now. We've only got a couple of games. There's not much to report on, etc., etc. Obviously, we've got some transfer bits and pieces, but it'd be nice to have some ideas. Also, going to be doing a video with Gonzo from Hammers Chat Forum. So we want to get a couple of topics as well for that. So yeah, just throw some ideas. So something you'd like to discuss and feel like needs talking about, then yeah, throw it my way in the comment section if you can. That'd be much appreciated. And also hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us grow. So we really do appreciate it. Let's talk about transfers and bits and bobs that's going on ahead of what's going to be, let's be honest, a really busy summer for West Ham. It feels quite monumental, doesn't it, the transfer window coming up, because of it being the first for Graham Potter, Carl McCauley, ahead of a new season, and one that's superseding one that's we've just had to sort of patch things up a little bit from the chaos of last summer, which is, we were supporting obviously Julian Lopetegui and that didn't work out. So it just feels like there's a lot to be done at West Ham. And obviously we've got an aging squad as well, the oldest in the Premier League. So it does feel like there's a lot of work to be done. So I'm expecting quite a busy summer. And I don't think I'm going to be far wrong from it. I think there's going to be quite a fair few players coming in. I think there'll be a fair few leaving as well. Potter's going to want to have his squad, isn't he, and build the team that he really wants. So I do feel there's going to be quite a fair amount of shifting about and big players leaving as well. I think that's going to be a part of it. But let's start off with Evan Ferguson. Evan Ferguson, of course, on loan at the moment from Brighton. We got him in January. Potter's a huge admirer of Ferguson, obviously from his time at Brighton, hence why he's here, isn't it? Really, I think that's had we not had Potter in charge, I don't think we'd have Ferguson here. It's hard for us to judge him at the moment because we haven't really seen much of him. Saw him come. He played a half, didn't he, against Brentford at home, a game that we lost. And I thought he looked quite lively, looked really good. But really, since then, we haven't really seen too much of him. And I'm very wary. I'm going to be honest of this signing. I'm not comfortable with it at the moment because of that reason. We're not seeing him, which makes me feel that he's not really fit yet. And there's just not enough there, is there? There's nothing to go on to make you go, yes, let's commit ourselves to this guy. I just don't think there's any reason to. And from what we're reading and hearing at the moment in terms of Brighton and what they're expecting, they're very difficult to deal with. Apparently, they're very stubborn and want things to be a certain way. Look, that's not a problem with Brighton. That's fine, but I just mean that we're not going to have an easy ride getting him. They're going to say, no, this is the price, bang, we're sticking to it. And they're talking about 60 million. I mean, that's an absolute no-go as far as I'm concerned. We should not be even considering spending anything near that to Evan Ferguson. I mean, I've got to be honest, I'd be more inclined to be saying half of that. 30 million for me, I think, is a fair price because I know, look, don't get me wrong, and he's clearly a talented lad and got amazing potential and all that kind of stuff, but his injuries and whatnot have got to be taken into consideration. It's just not £60 million signing for West Ham. Can't be doing that. So I really do hope that West Ham decide to walk away from that. I'll be very disappointed if West Ham decide to commit that kind of volume of money on a striker that at the moment is massively unproven at West Ham. Look, that could change between now and the end of the season, but we've only got 11 games left. So he's going to have to do a hell of a lot in that time. One, prove he's, obviously stay completely fit, but we got to be seeing him week in, week out, playing 90 minutes games. I can't, playing 5-minute cameos ain't going to be good enough. So, yeah, I'm a little bit anxious about it, actually, the Ferguson one. I really do hope that we're being sensible here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of faith in Graham Potter. He's a sensible bloke. He's a clever guy. I'm sure he wouldn't want to be blowing his transfer budget on one player that he's not sure of. So I'm going to, fully support him in terms of being a fan, but that is one that worries me. When I heard that 60 million quid, I thought we better not be even entertaining that. Emmanuel Omega of Strasbourg is someone that we're interested in, 22-year-old striker. He's another player that we're kind of loosely looking at the moment as a potential option. This has come from XWHU employee. So that's one possibly to keep an eye on. I think as the sort of summer window gets closer, and then it obviously opens up. That could be a player that we are looking at a bit more seriously. Then I know we've been scouting him, so there's obviously a fair amount of interest there. Jonathan David and Angel Gomez. They're the sort of big names at the moment, aren't they? That we're being linked to, and they're doing their rounds in terms of the stories. We keep getting heavily linked in stories saying that we're going to make a move and that we're trying to basically get their signatures done now. I've got sort of two thoughts on this one. First of all, I think I'm actually quite impressed with the way that West Ham are going about it. I feel like we're being bullish. We're trying to get a deal in place because they can sign now. They can do a pre-contractual agreement, and I like the fact that we are doing what we can to try and land these players. We can see the opportunity here to land a top striker and a top midfielder, get them into the club. Obviously, Angel Gomez, highly sought after as well. England international. I mean, I'd be delighted if we were able to do this. It'd be fantastic. So I commend the club actually, and the way that maybe McCauley's going about it. We're getting in there quick. We're having talks now. We're basically putting on the table our package, what we want to offer the players. So fair play for trying and for trying to get on the front foot and beat others to the signatures of these players. That's great. I just think the reality is we're going to really struggle. I think it's quite obvious that Gomez wants to go to Spurs. I think that's been quite widely reported now, and I think that's even been sort of confirmed again by Fabrizio Romano recently, saying that he's got one club that he's really keen on. He's waiting for them. I think that's Tottenham. So that's what immediately puts me off him, to be honest, at the moment. And also Jonathan David, it's just the fact that he's so heavily linked with big super clubs, Barcelona being the main one at the moment. I just struggle to see him deciding on West Ham. It's going to take a hell of a pitch and Jesus Christ to say choose West Ham over Barcelona. I mean, he's got his choices, isn't he? He's got a huge amount of options ahead of him. I just think West Ham is going to be one on a list, but I can't imagine we're going to be overly high on it. That's not to say it won't happen. There's still that little part of me that thinks, you know what, we've done it before, and we with certain players. You thought we weren't going to get Paqueta being one. I remember thinking we ain't got a chance of getting him, and we did. It's not to say it's impossible. I just think because the amount of competition, the fact they're free agents as well, it's going to be a struggle. But as I say, fair play to West Ham for doing so. So apparently, West Ham have tabled our offers to both players. They are very aware of what we can offer them as in terms of a wage, of signing on fee, agents fees, everything like that. So, and we're not skimping. We're putting big numbers down. So it's not to say, as I say, it's not impossible. It'd be fantastic if we were able to pull something off there. But I'm just not holding my breath. It's one that I'm kind of going, okay, let's just see how we get on. I'm not going to get excited about it until it sort of becomes a little bit more concrete and things start rolling a little bit, and you get a bit more optimism then, don't you? But at the moment, I'm reluctant to get that excited about it at the moment. I'm just sort of going, okay, fine, we'll see where we go with it. But West Ham are very much in the mix for these players. That's absolutely a fact. Nayef Aguerd, this is one that there's a fair amount of conversations in there regarding him. Obviously, out on loan this season to Real Sociedad. Done great. I mean, it could not really have gone better in terms of a loan for West Ham. Go out there, do well, get your stock risen, so clubs are going to be interested. I mean, surely that's what we want, and obviously playing regular football. And he's done all of those things in abundance. He's done really, really well out in Spain. I feel like the Liga suits him really, really well in terms of the pace of the league and how the general system of how things work out there in terms of the aggression and a bit more of a possession-based game. I just feel like it just suits him a little bit better than what he's been used to at West Ham. Don't get me wrong, at West Ham it's slightly different. Obviously under David Moyes, he played very defensive a lot of the time, so I feel like he was under the cosh a hell of a lot, and I just feel like it just didn't suit him either. But this is my thoughts on Nayef Aguerd, right? I really liked him when he came in. I thought he came across really well. He's clearly a talent and all that kind of stuff, and I do actually feel like when you watch him play, I think he could suit Graham Potter and suit our system. I'm just really put off with the guy in terms of his attitude. I feel like his desire to not play for West Ham, to stay fit for the African Cup of Nations was really poor, especially when we really needed him as well. It really put me off him, actually. I was not impressed with that at all. And the fact is, I don't think he was really happy at West Ham. He never really came across like he was. And as I say, when you consider the loan, of what it was down to achieve. Go out there, do well, get your numbers risen, get other clubs interested in, etc., etc. I'm I'm more feeling like, well, this is the time to cash in. Why would you then want to sort of abandon that, all that good work he's gone and done at in Sociedad to get into this position where we can offload him now and getting really decent money for him? Why would we want to then go, I'll tell you what, actually, we'll keep him, even though we've seen that he's not really committed at times and he's not been that happy at West Ham? I just don't agree with it. The reports are suggesting that Graham Potter wants to keep him and what wants him to stay at West Ham. I just feel like that's a bit of an error now. Not He could come back to West Ham, love it, and do fantastically well on Graham Potter. And I really, if that's the case, fantastic, I'm having a go at it. But as it stands at the moment, he's not someone I'm that desperate to get back to West Ham. I think I wasn't overly impressed, really, in general. I think on the whole, the attitude thing worried me, and I feel like he did have a couple of errors in him, and I feel like obviously his first error led to his injuries. I had that bad ankle injury he got in pre-season when he first joined. I'm just not sold on Aguerd. I'm really not, and I don't look at him and think, "God, this is the guy we need to be bringing in." I feel like there's other options out there and players that really want to be at West Ham. So that's where I'm at with that one. I personally am, not overly sold on the fact of him coming back to West Ham, but according to reports, etc., they are suggesting that is the case, that we do want him back here. Kyle Walker-Peters is a player that we're heavily linked with now, and we have been for some time. We were very close to getting him, wasn't we, in the previous summer transfer window? We ended up getting Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United, who's been outstanding, but signing of the season, definitely for me. But Kyle Walker-Peters was still very interesting. Now, Southampton are going down, we know that. So he's going to be available. He's going to want to come. I feel like he wants to come to West Ham, get back to London as well. Obviously, back formerly at Tottenham, wasn't he? I would like him at West Ham. I feel like if West Ham are going to offload the likes of Vladimir Soufal, which it looks like we are going to, I think Soufal will leave. I think he will be most likely going either to Everton. David Moyes obviously interested in linking up with him again, or he might go to Fulham, who are also interested. So if you consider the fact that Soufal's likely to go, I also think Emerson will probably go. There's rumoured interest he's got from Italy as well. Italian clubs are interested. I think it's also Saudi clubs possibly are looking as well. I feel like Kyle Walker-Peters would be a great addition because he also can play on both flanks, right back and left back. I just think he'd be a useful player to have, and I get the feeling that is something that's probably likely to happen. As I said, he'd been in talks with West Ham for quite a while. Get the feeling that he wanted the move last summer. So I do think if West Ham went in now to get him, I think we probably would do, especially the fact on the back of their relegation back to the Championship. So yeah, I would certainly say that is at the moment the most likely deal at this stage is Kyle Walker-Peters to West Ham. Thomas Souček departing. That's a sort of suggestion at the moment in that Everton are very, very keen on the player. David Moyes, of course, linking up again with Thomas Souček, as we talked about with Soufal. It kind of makes sense for Everton. It makes sense for Moyes. I'm a little on the fence with it. I'm going to be honest. I really like Souček at times. Don't get me wrong, I've been on this channel enough now and I've slagged him off about some performances. He's obviously had some bad periods at West Ham, but he's also had some very good moments as well. And he can't question his love for the football club and his commitment and desire. And I worry about losing that. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit low to have so much change that we lose players that are quite big characters and big for the football club. Souček's is a sort of mainstay, isn't he? And he has been for quite some time, and the fans connect well with him and etc. So I'm not confident about this one. EXWHUEMPLOYEE employees reported that West Ham are happy with Souček and not overly keen to let him go. So if Everton are going to come in, it's got to be for a real decent fee. So that's the question, isn't it? How much they can really offer if they're serious, which I imagine they probably are. You'd think so anyway. You kind of would suit, wouldn't he, going over there and obviously he'd be a main player for David Moyes. I can kind of get it in that regard, but for West Ham, I don't know. I mean, I want to see massive change at West Ham because of the next step now. Working with Potter now, we want to see this squad that fits what he wants to do and how he wants to play. I'm not sure Souček really fits that. But then at the same time, do you want to go a player that, as I say, is not only a big character, but pops up with those really important goals, those big moments? He's been, how many times has he done that and rescued us? And I'm just not sold on it yet. I feel like I'd rather keep him longer, another season, see how things go. I mean, look, he might be going January. If you start the season, he's never getting any game time and he's just sitting on the bench, then maybe we can look at it then. But I certainly wouldn't be too keen to see him go in the summer. Aaron Cresswell is another player, just before I wrap this up, is a player that he apparently West Ham are looking to offer a new contract to. I'm absolutely all for this. At the beginning of the season, no, I was more than happy to see this be his last season. I felt like he'd probably run his course now at West Ham and probably time for a change. But I've got to be honest, the fact that he's come in when called upon this season at Cresswell, I think he's been outstanding. I think he's been absolutely excellent considering his age. And what I like about Cresswell is he's happy to accept that role. Cresswell's not going to be signing a year extension thinking I'm going to be in the first name at team sheet. He knows he's not. He's there to mentor as well. Ollie Scholes, who's even talked about it, how important he is. I don't want to see him go. I just think it would be a real mistake at this stage, as I say, because he's proven already that he's useful. If we get injuries and we need to call upon someone, Cresswell's a safe pair of hands. You know what I mean? He's as I know he's lost his pace. He's not quite where he was once upon a time. That's fine, but he's adapted his game well, and he's slotted into, doesn't he, to that back three, and because he's got the protection with Scholes, the midfield, and then obviously the two centre backs side of him. It does feel like it fits quite well. I would certainly be very keen to keep him longer. So, look, this is where we are at the moment. There's going to be further updates with transfers and bits and pieces. We're getting linked with quite a few players, but that's the kind of the main bits at the moment from EXWHU employee and sort of where things stand. As I say, doing the videos coming up to this weekend. I'm going to be chatting with Gonzo. I want to get some ideas of things to talk about. Got some stadium stuff as well. I want to do some videos on that. And of course, got the Newcastle preview coming up this weekend. Look, I'm so glad West Ham are back on. I know it's not this weekend, Monday, but isn't it nice to have a Premier League return? I feel like West Ham have played in ages for some reason. I think it's just because, when you get back of 2 wins, you just really want to keep playing. You want to keep seeing West Ham sort of build on those performances and results. So it does feel like it's been a while. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it feels like a really good time to play in Newcastle with their one eye on that final. So got a bit of a good feeling about that game, but we'll come to that at the preview. But look, enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow with more stuff. But look, until then, have a good one. Come on, your ones.